Word on the street is that Diddy collapsed after a judge supposedly gave him a life sentence related to Kim Porter's death. Honestly, it's not surprising. People close to Diddy, including his former bodyguard, have been questioning the circumstances of Kim's death from the beginning.
How is it that, and this is her say, that the detectives did not even view the body in the bed where she died at? Her casket was ordered 2 months before she died.
So what really happened in court? Let's break it down. Kim Porter played a major role in Diddy's life for years. They even had children together. But ever since her death in 2018, people have had serious doubts, especially now that Diddy is facing legal trouble. Her official cause of death was lobar pneumonia, but many, including her ex, Al B. Sure, have raised questions about how it really happened. Gene Deal, Diddy's former bodyguard, has revealed some shocking information in interviews that has left people stunned.
You gotta realize, man, Kim's death wasn't even investigated, bro. Her death wasn't even investigated. And it should have been a proper investigation so all the family members can feel like that there was no foul play in her death.
He continued with some seriously suspicious details.
How is it that you know how we are as a people? I don't believe that 10% of your viewers that's watching this don't keep their phone when they go to sleep in arm reach. How is it that there was no electronic products or gadgets around Kim's bed? Her laptop missing, her cell phones missing.
Deal went on to share some deeply suspicious details.
That the detectives did not even view the body in the bed where she died at. That the coroner had already removed her, pronounced her dead, and told the detectives that it was no foul play. And if that is true, as I've heard it, and we read certain things on the internet about it, that case needs to be reopened.
In the same interview, Deal highlighted another strange aspect about Kim's condition before her death.
We know that Kim, and it's in the this is in the documentation. Shout out the paperwork. At the paperwork part, I gotta shout him out, man, because he looked in the paperwork and it said Kim received a massage for about an hour when she's supposed to have full-blown pneumonia. Who gives somebody a massage when they got pneumonia?
In the same interview, Deal pointed out another strange detail about Kim's condition before she died.
Now, some people even said that her casket was ordered 2 months before she died. I don't believe that, man. I swear. I'm not no conspiracy theorist or none of that. But I heard, did you hear something like that, man? That her casket, how you order a gold casket 2 months before somebody died, man?
As shocking as Deal's revelations were up to that point, he still had more to say.
She says that, it was very well choreographed. Like, it was almost, when she was describing it, I was like, it sounds like he was shooting a music video.
Executive producing.
No, for real.
Although Gene Deal said he doesn't personally believe the rumor that a casket was ordered in advance of Kim Porter's death, the fact that such speculation exists shows how deeply suspicious many people are about the circumstances surrounding her passing. Now, Diddy's federal trial officially began on May 12, 2025 in Manhattan. And from day one, it's been full of drama. The man who once built a music empire with Bad Boy Records is now facing extremely serious charges: racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, and interstate transportation for the purpose of prostitution. These are charges that could potentially lead to a life sentence. The trial began with jury selection and intense opening statements. Picture this: Diddy walking confidently into court, looking like he still owns the world, while prosecutors are on a mission to dismantle the polished image he's cultivated for decades. Assistant U.S. Attorney Emily Johnson didn't hold back, describing Diddy as leading a double life. the glamorous celebrity the public knows versus a manipulative figure who allegedly abused and controlled women through an organized network. Meanwhile, Diddy's attorney, Tenny Garagos, tried to paint a different picture. He acknowledged some violent and dehumanizing incidents, including confirming the authenticity of the 2016 hotel video in which Diddy was seen assaulting Cassie, but argued that it was a case of domestic violence, not sex. Trafficking. The defense is pushing the idea that the relationships were consensual, involving strong adult women. But critics say that's like claiming a gazelle willingly negotiated dinner terms with a lion. Incredibly, amid all this, Diddy had the nerve to make a heart gesture to his family in the courtroom, including his mother, Janice Combs, and mouthed, "Hi, Mom, I love you," even blowing them a kiss. Imagine if R. Kelly had done the same thing during his trial. The disconnect between the accusations and his demeanor is staggering. Let's talk about the witnesses. Day 1 opened with testimony from Israel Flores, a former hotel security guard, at the Intercontinental Hotel in Los Angeles. He responded to a 2016 incident involving Diddy and Cassie. Flores described Diddy as having a devilish stare and said Cassie had a black eye and clearly wanted to leave. Flores testified that Diddy offered him $100,000 in cash to stay quiet, comparing it to offering someone a mansion just to not call 911. That's not normal. The jury was shown disturbing cell phone videos and surveillance footage from the hotel, including a scene with scattered flowers and dirt on the walls after the altercation. The defense tried to discredit Flores, questioning why he left certain details out of his report, but he stood firm, saying those things weren't relevant to his job at the time. Next up was Daniel Phillip, a male stripper and venue manager. He testified about his encounters with Diddy and Cassie from 2012 to 2013 at the Gramercy Park Hotel in New York. Phillip spoke about sexually explicit events that he participated in under Diddy's direction and said he often saw Cassie looking unwell after taking substances provided by Diddy. He described seeing Diddy drag Cassie by the hair and hearing slaps. Phillip said he was so frightened that he didn't report it, especially after Diddy took a photo of his driver's license, which felt like a threat. Day 2 focused on Cassie Ventura's testimony, and it was powerful. Cassie, who dated Diddy for nearly 11 years, took the stand and shared an emotional, detailed account of their relationship. She met him in 2006 when she was 19 and signed to Bad Boy Records. Their relationship started out professional, but she described feeling pressured and confused after their first kiss on her 21st birthday, especially since Diddy held power over her career. Cassie alleged serious physical abuse, saying, "He would smash me in my head, knock me over, drag me, kick me, stomp me in the head if I was down." She cried during her testimony but remained composed as she discussed explicit details, including what she called freak-offs, multi-day drug-fueled gatherings that began when she was 22. Cassie said she used ecstasy, marijuana, and mushrooms to cope, which were often provided by Diddy or his team. Surveillance footage from the 2016 hotel altercation was shown repeatedly. After lunch, Cassie gave more insight into how Diddy organized these freak-offs, including arranging for people with specific physical attributes, checking to make sure no one was law enforcement, and coordinating interstate travel. She claimed these gatherings happened in New York, Miami, Los Angeles, Atlanta, Las Vegas, Ibiza, and Turks and Caicos. She testified that Diddy recorded many of these encounters with various devices, and aliases were used to keep things secret. In one example, the prosecution showed texts from March 5, 2016, in which Diddy demanded a freak-off before Cassie's movie premiere. Day 3 continued with more harrowing testimony from Cassie, including her struggle with opioid addiction and further abuse incidents. She described being chased by Diddy's security after a party, a 2018 assault in her living room, and even witnessing him harm others, including holding her friend Brianna Bongalan over a balcony, an act that sounds straight out of a movie. Photos of Cassie's injuries, black eyes, a fat lip, a gash, and bruises were submitted as evidence. She also testified that Diddy once threatened Kid Cudi, whose car later exploded, raising even more alarming concerns. Cassie said she was addicted to opioids throughout much of their relationship and last used drugs in 2022. She revealed that she settled a $20 million civil lawsuit against Diddy in 2023. At one point during the testimony, she broke down in tears while discussing rehab and suicidal thoughts. Her husband, Alex Fine, had to leave the courtroom, overwhelmed by the details. Outside court, Diddy's family was seen praying. But, as the narrator puts it, some things just can't be prayed away. Day 4 began Cassie's cross-examination, where the defense tried to depict her as a willing participant in her relationship and the alleged freak-offs. The jury was shown explicit text messages to support that claim. The trial is far from over, but the details so far have painted a disturbing picture. As Sean Diddy Combs faces federal charges for racketeering, conspiracy, and trafficking, a disturbing pattern of allegations has come to light from multiple women and insiders spanning over 3 decades. These claims include emotional manipulation, physical assault, blackmail, drugging, and coercion. Diddy's long-term relationship with Kim Porter, with whom he shared 3 children, has become a focal point of scrutiny. Ventura, another alleged victim, noted how Diddy prioritized Porter and their children, which created tensions in other relationships. But behind the scenes, reports indicate the relationship between Combs and Porter was not simply loving, it was also allegedly toxic. Mark Curry, former Bad Boy rapper, stated, "Every relationship he had that I experienced around him was like that." Roger Bonds, Diddy's former bodyguard, claimed he witnessed Diddy physically abusing Porter, including a smack and grab. A violent incident in 2000 at L.A. Reid's wedding reportedly involved Diddy assaulting Porter's then-boyfriend Shakir Stewart, breaking a chair over his head. In a 2003 Essence interview, Porter described Diddy as very, very intrusive, saying he would call her 50, 60 times a day while dating Jennifer Lopez, revealing potential emotional abuse. Though Porter died in 2018 from lobar pneumonia, some insiders, like Gene Deal, have raised suspicions around the circumstances, including missing electronics near her bed and unusual behavior before her death. No criminal charges have been filed regarding her passing. Cassie Ventura, Diddy's former girlfriend and Bad Boy Records signee, filed a lawsuit in November 2023, later settled, but her testimony revealed control over her appearance, music, and movements, being drugged and forced to participate in non-consensual acts at freak-offs physical assault. Backed by a 2016 video released by CNN showing Diddy attacking her in a hotel hallway, Diddy apologized publicly, calling the incident inexcusable. But the damage to his public image and mounting legal trouble was already escalating. As of April 2025, Diddy faces at least 63 civil lawsuits. Notable cases include Joy Dickerson Neal, 1991, alleged drugging, assault, and revenge porn. Lil Rod, Rodney Jones Jr., 2024, claimed trafficking, minor solicitation, and racketeering. Crystal McKinney, 2003, alleged drugging and blacklisting in the modeling industry. Grace Omarogbe, 2022, alleged rape by Diddy's son, with Diddy held responsible for the environment. Don Richard, 2024, claimed witnessing abuse and drugging of underage girls at parties. Thalia Graves, 2001, alleged she was tied up and raped by Diddy and his bodyguard. Numerous Jane Does, 2023-2024. Accusations include abuse at industry parties, trafficking, and emotional manipulation. In September 2024, Diddy was arrested by Homeland Security and charged with
So that first step was the descriptive foreplay, and then step 2 was the touching.
These weren't just wild parties. They were methodical, organized events. Cassie described them as choreographed, like Diddy was directing a music video. He treated these encounters like shooting a Bad Boy Records production, complete with specific lighting, scents, and props. Cassie broke down these freak-offs into 4 distinct steps, explaining the disturbing system Diddy allegedly created.
Oh, she said that the first step was there was like station, and they would have to do math. It would be her and the escort, and she would have to talk out loud and describe what she was seeing.
Step 1 was what she called descriptive foreplay, where she had to verbally describe everything happening with the male escort. Diddy wanted to hear every detail, like he was listening to an X-rated audiobook.
She said that they would oil up so much. That was like a big thing for Puff, allegedly. Like, you had to be oiled, that every 5 minutes they were like just re-oiling because
we want you to look like a shiny suit.
Yeah, because it glistens, and I guess it's the sexiness of baby oil.
Step 2 was the touching phase. This is where all that baby oil came out. When authorities raided Diddy's properties, they found over 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant. That's not a personal supply. That's wholesale inventory. The man was running an entire slip and slide operation in his bedroom.
she just was doing it because she was so in love. And she said she didn't want him to go and do it with anybody else. Now, step 4 was the actual intercourse where they would engage in, sex.
Step 3 was the oral activities, which Cassie admitted she would rush through just to get it over with. She didn't want to be doing any of this in the first place. She was just participating because she was so in love with Diddy and didn't want him doing these things with anyone else.
She said that a lot of times after they would finish, the escorts would have a happy ending, and Puff would make her take that happy ending and rub it on his nipple, and then they would engage in whatever they were going to do, just Cassie and Puff alleged.
So his man milk on Puff.
That's what Cassie's alleging, that that Puff liked her to rub it on his chest and on his nipple.
Step 4 was the actual intercourse, where they would engage in sex. Sometimes Diddy would just watch, but other times he would join in, if they were really comfortable with the escort. But wait, it gets worse. Cassie testified that after these encounters, Diddy would make her take the male escort's finishing product and rub it on his chest and nipples. I'm trying to keep this family friendly, but what in the actual...
So chocolate-covered nipples with a semen drizzle.
Yo,
Glaze.
shut up, man.
And glaze, we have to say glaze.
They actually called it man milk in the courtroom. This testimony had everyone gagging, including Diddy's family members who were present.
And we've heard this story, but she said that, because we heard before that there were extra linens because...
It's dookie on the sheets.
So what she said was she was actually made to have freak-offs during her period. And so there would be blood on a lot of the sheets.
One of the most disturbing allegations involved a male escort who was allegedly made to urinate on Cassie during one of these encounters. When asked why she didn't tell them to stop or move away, Cassie explained, when they would get to a point where it was too much for her, sometimes Puff would tell the escorts, allegedly like, yo, all right, let's stop, let's chill. When asked why she didn't just tell them herself, she said, I mean, I'm laying on the floor, allegedly intoxicated by all these things, and it's 2 men standing over me. What am I going to do? So I just laid there. Cassie painted a picture of complete powerlessness, often under the influence and feeling unable to resist. She was allegedly forced to participate in these activities even during her monthly cycle, which she didn't want to do but felt coerced.
He felt vulnerable because he had shared this secret of these voyeurisms and freak-offs that he liked to do. She didn't want another woman coming in and swooping up in her place. And a lot of times she alleges, and we saw actual text messages they brought up where she tried to tell him she didn't want to do a freak-off.
But why did Cassie keep participating if she hated these encounters so much? She explained that she was a very jealous girlfriend, desperately in love with this powerful, rich man who was 17 years older. She didn't want another woman taking her place, and Diddy had shared his secrets with her.
He shows up in an NYPD t-shirt and he says, Cassie opens the door. She's in red lingerie. She's in a wig, dark glasses, and pumps.
The prosecutors even showed text messages where Cassie tried to tell Diddy she didn't want to do a freak-off, and his response was basically, you're boring, you're predictable. Classic manipulation tactic. Cassie felt pressured to comply so he wouldn't do it with someone else. During Cassie's testimony, Diddy was visibly shaking in the courtroom, looking pale and significantly thinner than usual. His nervous state was apparent to everyone present. He even asked to go to the bathroom, saying, "Excuse me, Judge, I'm a little bit nervous." You could see his hands shaking. He was literally fighting for his life. He came prepared, with a file and paperwork, sitting next to his attorney, Brian Steele, reading everything as it happened. He was shook, and rightfully so, facing charges that could lock him up for life. Now, here's where things get even crazier. Remember the male escort who allegedly participated in these freak-offs? He took the stand and painted a very different picture. Described as a black man, around 5 or 7, stocky and muscular, the escort testified that Cassie called him every time they wanted to hook up. When he first met them, he was told it was for a bachelorette party.
he told him he worked in imports and exports. So when he said that, he said, I instantly caught the voice. And I'm like, well, how did you catch the voice? He said, I've been listening to this man, majority of my whole life.
According to the escort, Cassie told him, "My husband likes to do special things for me. He wanted to do this for my birthday." When the escort walked in, Diddy was allegedly sitting in the corner with a bandana tied around his face and a hat on. The escort testified that he and Cassie had intimate relations on the couch, while Diddy sat in the corner pleasuring himself. He claimed he recognized Diddy immediately by his voice when he spoke.
Exactly, because the prosecutors opened up that literally probably like 15 minutes before that. The prosecutors were like, Cassie is going to tell you that Diddy allegedly made this escort urinate on her. That there's an escort sitting in front of us sworn in on the stand saying, no, Cassie told me to do that.
Now here's the wild part. When prosecutors brought up the incident where the escort allegedly performed that explicit act on Cassie, the escort claimed it was Cassie who asked him to do it, not Diddy. Talk about a plot twist.
More because he went to Cassie's house. They got comfortable with him. He came to Cassie's house. When he was there, Cassie and Diddy was in the room. He was outside in the living room. Diddy comes out and goes off on Cassie, like allegedly beats her up bad because she took a long time to come back in the room to him. And he said after he saw that was his first time seeing her get physically touched.
This created a huge discrepancy in the case, potentially undermining Cassie's credibility. However, the escort did corroborate some aspects of abuse, claiming he couldn't get hard anymore after seeing Diddy allegedly beat Cassie badly at her house.
It was awkward for me to watch them have to listen to all of this. After he started, the male escort started getting into a lot of the and stuff, they got up and left.
So while the escort's testimony contradicted Cassie's claims about who initiated certain activities, it still supported the narrative that Diddy was physically abusive toward her. The escort's testimony was ongoing, with cross-examination set to continue. This all had a visible impact on everyone in the courtroom, including Diddy's family members who were present.
She decided to go deal with somebody else, so she dipped. Puff was coming. He came, he's looking for her, can't find her. He grabs his gun. Two of his staff members, one of the staff members said that she did not want to go, and allegedly she was forced to go, so they labeled that kidnapping. And they went to this man's house looking for Cassie in this rage. Cassie wasn't there, and it was like all hell broke loose.
Imagine sitting there while people describe your father's alleged sex parties in graphic detail. That's a therapy bill waiting to happen. Now let's break down exactly what Diddy is facing in this trial, because it's serious. Sean Diddy Combs' trial began with jury selection on May 5, 2025, at the Daniel Patrick Moynihan Courthouse in Manhattan, with opening statements scheduled for May 12th. He's facing 5 counts. 1 count of racketeering conspiracy, could get life. 2 counts of sex trafficking, minimum 15 years each. 2 counts of transportation for prostitution, up to 10 years each. Diddy has pleaded not guilty to all charges, but the prosecution came in with receipts longer than a CVS receipt after you buy chapstick. The prosecutors are painting a picture of Diddy as a man who couldn't control his anger, especially when it came to Cassie. They brought up an incident where Cassie supposedly got upset that Diddy was dealing with other women, so she decided to deal with someone else. When Diddy found out, he allegedly grabbed his gun, took 2 staff members, one of whom didn't want to go, and went looking for Cassie at this man's house. Prosecutors are calling that kidnapping.
All they did was own up to everything. They're like, look, he was angry. He can't control his anger. He, might have abused drugs and been a horrible boyfriend. Y'all gonna hear text messages and audios that make him sound like a horrible person, and that he may have been. All of the most horrible things you could think about him when it comes to how he dealt with the women in his life, he's owning up to it.
What in Tony, Montana is that? Imagine if your ex pulled up to your new place with a squad and a strap just because you moved on. That's not, I'll be missing you. That's, I'll be threatening you now. Diddy's defense team came in with an interesting strategy. They basically admitted to everything except the actual charges. They're saying, yeah, he was trash, but not criminal trash.
Like, if he was guilty of domestic violence, we wouldn't be arguing today. I mean, if he was charged with domestic violence, we wouldn't be arguing today. If he was charged with abuse in a certain way, we wouldn't be arguing today. But because he's charged with everything else, the sex trafficking and all these other things, we're here because he's not guilty of that.
Their whole argument is, if he was guilty of domestic violence, we wouldn't be arguing today. But since he's charged with sex trafficking and racketeering, they're fighting it. That's like saying, yeah, I stole the candy bar, but I didn't rob the whole store.
Now, Diddy's team is saying...
So that's why the video matters to the court.
Diddy's team is saying, no, because freak-offs weren't a thing. You guys were consensually engaging in sexual acts, but that's not even what happened here.
The defense is trying to argue that just because something is immoral doesn't mean it's criminal. But I don't know if the jury will buy that when they're hearing all this disturbing testimony. A key piece of evidence is surveillance video from March 2016 that captured Diddy assaulting Cassie in a hotel hallway. This footage, released by CNN in May 2024, shows Diddy grabbing, shoving, and kicking Cassie. They brought in a witness who was working security at the Intercontinental Hotel when this happened. Israel Flores, now an LAPD officer but then a security guard, responded to a call about a woman in distress on the 6th floor. According to his testimony, when he arrived, he saw Cassie and Diddy arguing. Cassie kept saying, "I want to leave, I want to leave, I want to leave." But Diddy was like, "No, she's not going anywhere." The security guard had to step in and tell Diddy that if she wanted to leave, they would let her get her things and go. He also claimed that when he walked Cassie and Diddy back to their room, he saw a man in dark clothing sitting on the bed, which becomes important because of the conflicting narratives about what led to the hallway assault. Cassie's version is that she was trying to get away from one of those freak-off situations she didn't want to be part of, and that's why Diddy assaulted her in the hallway. But Diddy's team says that's not what happened at all.
So he instantly starts getting him. He's like, okay, so you mentioned something about Cassie having a purple eye when you got off of the elevator. Why wasn't that in your incident report? The man said, well, I didn't think that was significant to put in. Brian still said, so you thought it was significant today, but it wasn't significant 9 years ago? So then he says, you said that you saw a man inside of their hotel room. Why wasn't that in your incident report? Did you ask the man his name? Did you talk to him? And he was like, no, because the man didn't really say anything.
According to Diddy's team, they were arguing over something Cassie saw on Diddy's phone. They say it was just a tumultuous, jealous relationship, nothing to do with forced sexual encounters. During cross-examination, Diddy's lawyer, Brian, Steele tried to discredit the security guard's testimony by pointing out inconsistencies. The guard claimed Cassie had a purple eye when he first saw her, but that wasn't in his incident report from 2016. He also mentioned seeing a man inside their hotel room, but that wasn't in the report either.
Because he's inferring that because these are all white women on the jury, that based on race, white women are going to convict a black man because of the race component. That's what he's implying by he pointing to the fact that it's all white women who are going to prosecute Puff.
The defense also pointed out that this security guard recorded videos on his personal phone and sent them to his wife, laughing about how shiny his shoes were, not exactly taking the situation seriously. The defense suggested the guard might have been covering for Diddy back then, but got a conscience now. Regardless of the guard's credibility issues, that video of Diddy assaulting Cassie doesn't lie. It's important to understand that Cassie's lawsuit filed in November 2023 was a catalyst for all this. That lawsuit was settled the next day, but opened the floodgates for over 60 more lawsuits against Diddy. By April 2025, over 63 lawsuits had been filed with allegations spanning from 1991 to 2022, involving over 100 alleged victims, including 25 minors, one as young as 9 years old. If that doesn't make your skin crawl, I don't know what will. Prosecutors allege Diddy ran a criminal enterprise involving sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice. They claim he forced women into days-long sexual activities with male commercial sex workers using violence, intimidation, narcotics, financial control, and threats. The allegations about his white parties are particularly disturbing. Held from 1998 to 2009 in places like East Hampton and Beverly Hills, these events were once celebrated for glamour and exclusivity, but behind the scenes, accusers claim they had a much darker purpose. For example, Adria English, a former employee, alleged in a July 2024 lawsuit that she was groomed into sex trafficking at these white parties, coerced into sexual acts with guests after being given drug-laced alcohol. Meanwhile, Diddy's legal team is trying everything to discredit the witnesses and prosecutors. Mark Garagos, whose daughter is one of Diddy's lead attorneys, called the prosecutors a six-pack of white women on a podcast, implying racial bias in the prosecution. The judge was not happy and threatened to hold Garagos in contempt if it happened again.